Welcome to the fourth webinar of Reload Media's series of webinars that we're doing in 2016. And welcome to all the attendees joining the room and viewing this e-commerce for sale success. I can see attendees coming in and I'm going to put a quick message up on the chat on the right-hand side to say hello to everybody. Just a quick message, if you can't see the slides correctly and they're a little bit fuzzy, don't worry, on the replay they'll be in better quality. We've just got a message from Webinar Jam, who is the tool that sometimes the slides aren't exactly as sharp as you want them, and that's just because of the bandwidth. So bear with us, we'll explain all of the slides and we'll kick off in a sec. We'll let the room just get joined up. We've still got a few people coming on in, which is great. So I think we'll get started. Okay, so my name's Lou Jury and I'm the Managing Director of Reload Media and Reload Business Group. And with me is Rhys, who's our Partner Engagement Manager, but also an e-commerce expert in the market, in the wider market, in the world, really, Rhys. And
thanks, Lou.
Welcome to the webinar series.
Pleasure. This
is going to be all about Rhys and his amazing journey that he's been on for his own personal business that he's got, and it's an innovative story, and he's got a lot of stuff to share with you today. So I suppose it's enough about us, and enough about me. I'm going to just disappear into the background and sort of work the technology and the offers and all that sort of stuff. For those who've just joined, there's a chat facility in the right-hand side, and we're now going to be on air for about 40 minutes. Yeah, welcome aboard. And Rhys, I'll hand over to you, mate.
Cool. Thank you very much, Lou. Pleasure to be here, and thanks for joining us. I really hope that you guys learn a few new things today. And yeah, look, let's get into it. I know your time's really valuable. We do have quite a few things to cover today. So yeah, let's get cracking. Alrighty, so the first thing is I thought I'd just run through a bit of an agenda on what we're going to cover today. So I'm going to do a really quick intro, just a little bit about myself and my own sort of e-commerce journey, so you know potentially, I suppose, where I'm coming from with some of my recommendations today. I'm also going to touch on really quickly just a little bit about Reload, where we sit, what we do. And then I'm going to give you guys a few really cool stats on e-commerce in Australia and essentially what's been happening in the e-commerce market here. And there's definitely some interesting things. From there, what I'm going to start running through is the crux of today's presentation. So as you'll see, there's quite a few different things that we're going to get into. So the first thing is all around how to actually build an e-commerce brand that your customers will love. This is something that's really close to my heart, and you'll find out why shortly. And this is a really, really critical element. So there's quite a bit of information around this part of the presentation today. The second thing is all around the digital marketing tactics that you can use to grow your e-commerce business. A lot of you guys that are in the marketing space will literally know that this is, almost how long, a piece of string can be. So there's a lot of different things here, and I'm going to focus on a few key areas to start with. And then I'm just going to touch on how you can look into some key data to find out what's working, what isn't, and use those data and insights to drive your e-commerce business forward. After that, I've got a couple of really cool examples that I want to take you guys through. So I absolutely love Bellroy. They're an Australian e-commerce business that are doing really cool things, and I'll run you through a bit about what they're doing. I love their brand and what they've done. And another really cool one, Opus Grows. A lot of you probably wouldn't have heard of this, but they did win a Shopify award recently, actually, for having one of the best designed websites. Really, really cool brand that they've created around a pretty boring product. So stay tuned for that one. And then obviously at the end, we'll have a bit of a Q&A as well, where you guys can fire through a few questions, and I'll do my best to answer those for you. Alrighty, so let's get into it. So around the intro on myself. So I'm a digital strategist here at Reload Media. I've been doing that for a bit over 6 years now. So 6 years in the digital space is quite a long time. I'm a small e-commerce business owner myself, and I'm going to be running you through a little bit about that today. I've worked with over 300 digital businesses. Not all of those are e-commerce businesses, but certainly a decent chunk of them are. So I've worked across a really broad range of different industries, different sized organizations with different goals and objectives. So hopefully some of that breadth of experience you'll see today in the presentation. I'm a facial hair enthusiast. So as you'll see to the right, that's me on Beard Street in Brisbane. I grow a range of beards and moustaches, and that's really what led me to starting Buccaneer Grooming Co. And I'll run you through a little bit more about that today. One of the things that I really strongly believe is that your brand story is your sustainable competitive advantage. The online space is getting more and more competitive, and with the Amazons and the eBays of the world only getting more and more powerful, it's going to be difficult for businesses to compete on price. So you have to differentiate, and that's where brand is a really key element, and that's why a lot of the presentation today focuses on that. A really quick bit about Reload Media. So you'll see Lou there in the top right. So a bit about Reload. We're established in 2008. We're a digital marketing agency. I pretty much say that we do anything online except for building websites. So we work with a range of really good quality partners that work in the web design and development space. And in terms of what we do a lot of branding campaigns, search campaigns, social campaigns, you name it, conversion rate optimization, etc. It's quite broad what we do, and it's very customized. Head office is here in Brisbane, but we also work with a lot of clients throughout Sydney and Melbourne, and we've also got a London-based office with 10 staff, so we've grown quite a bit for an Australian startup. We're a customer service award winner, so a really big focus for us is that the only real difference between two digital agencies is service. A lot of the times the tactics are fairly similar. You know, Google AdWords is Google AdWords, but the difference with us is that we place a real emphasis on actually understanding you and your business, and then customize the actual delivery of those particular tactics. And you'll see a few key e-commerce brands there that we've done quite a bit of work with. I'm sure that you'll recognize some of those brands. So the next thing I thought I'd do is just give you guys a really quick overview of e-commerce in Australia. I've just got a few key stats that I think will set the tone for today's discussion. So the first thing is that in the world, we are we're ranked 10th in terms of e-commerce revenue. So in 2015, our e-commerce revenue was 19 billion, which was up 9% on 2014. And a lot of the growth is being driven in Australia because we've got the second largest online population in the Asia Pacific region. We've got a really stable economy, and a lot of big online retailers who are based in North America and Europe typically choose Australia as their base for Asian operations. So we're close to China, close to Japan. So yeah, we're fairly big online shoppers. This probably won't come as much of a surprise by you. Everyone in marketing has been talking about mobile for a long time. But the stat at the end of 2015 was that 35% of all e-commerce sales were coming from mobile devices. Personally, from my experience with my own e-commerce business and also working across a range of different e-commerce businesses as well, I actually see across our clients that it's a little bit higher. It's typically between 40 and 45%, but certainly growing. So mobile's a really key area for all e-commerce businesses. One other thing is that there's a few buzzwords around it, around this. It's what's called an omni-channel retailer. So an omni-channel retailer is someone that sells online as well as in stores, where a pure play online retailer is someone that just purely sells online. But of a lot of the large omni-channel retailers, about half of them are actually offering multiple delivery options now. So that's ranging from different shipping and postage options all the way through to click and collect. So it's great to see these larger omni-channel retailers embracing e-commerce and making it easier for customers. Another really cool thing is that after Boxing Day and Christmas, which are obviously the two biggest online e-commerce revenue days in Australia, Click Frenzy is unique to Australia. It's on the third Tuesday of every November. And in 2015, it generated 200 million in revenue. So we're starting to get a few of these e-commerce days on the Australian calendar, which is great. Another key thing here is that e-commerce is actually predicted to rise 21% by 2018. So it's going to be a $24 billion industry by 2018. So we're seeing some really good growth there. And also about 79% of the Australian population buy online. And by 2018, that's expected to actually raise to 81%. Another really interesting one is 69% of buyers in Australia make cross-border purchases. So what that means is that a lot of people are buying from other countries, online retailers based in other countries. So of this, about 40% of people buy from the US, 32% from China, 22% from the UK. A really big reason here is that lower prices and product availability drives a lot of Australians to buy from online retailers that aren't based here in Australia. The other thing that also supports this is that the tax exemption for sales under $1,000, obviously you don't have to pay tax. So that sort of does encourage people to buy from overseas retailers. And it's up to us as Australian online retailers to try to bring some of that back to us here in Australia. Another really interesting thing is Australia actually has the highest cart abandonment rate in the world. So we sit at about 76%, and today I'll run you through a little bit about how we can try to improve that. But we certainly want to try to get less people at abandoning their carts. And an interesting one here in Australia, Melbourneites are the biggest online shoppers in Australia. Another interesting thing around this is that Toowoomba have the highest amount of online shoppers for a regional area. So if you've got an e-commerce store, when you break down sales by region, you may see this. But it's just an interesting stat nonetheless. So there we go, guys. That's a bit of a quick intro as to where we're at. So let's get into the crux of it now. So the first thing that I want to really touch on is building a brand. And this is such a key area and something that's really close to me because brand is what helps you differentiate. So your brand strategy will help define how your customers see your business and your product. It's your positioning and winning difference. It's a really powerful marketing, customer retention, and loyalty technique. So it's really key to get your brand positioning right before you branch out into other key aspects of your business. It's really important because a lot of sales for e-commerce businesses come from direct or branded traffic. So developing a brand helps you improve the amount of direct and branded traffic that you get, and they're typically worth higher value, those people that come through those traffic sources. And like I mentioned before, when you look at the online space moving forward, the Amazons and the eBays of the world are going to be impossible to compete with. So you have to really ask yourself what will make your business different. And this is where your brand really comes in. So there's a few key advantages to building a brand. So obviously your customers are going to be more loyal. Your products can carry a higher price point. Word of mouth and viral marketing will become a lot more common. And typically the valuation of your company will be higher as well. And a good example of that is Electrolux, who was actually purchased by another company just for the brand. And you can obviously see some big, sexy brands there. Not everyone will have an Apple or a Google type of brand, but it's important that you start considering the advantages of developing your brand. There are, however, some disadvantages. So it's more expensive to build a brand because you typically have to invest in marketing that isn't directly performance-based. It's definitely a longer-term strategy. You can't build a brand overnight. You really have to invest in company culture because if the people within your company don't live and breathe that brand, they'll tarnish it every single time a customer comes in contact with your brand. Your return on investment, like I mentioned before, it's not as clear as that call to action or performance marketing. And as soon as you tarnish your brand, you lose all the hard work that you put into building that. So I've got an example there of Shapes. I'm a huge Shapes lover, and Shapes recently launched their new ingredients and flavors, and I absolutely hate them. They're getting slammed on social media. So once that brand is tarnished, it's hard to really recover from that. So there are some disadvantages to it. But let's actually get into the crux of it, of how you actually build a brand. So before we dig into some of these examples, I really want you guys to get a bit of a better understanding of your own actual business. So you can start by asking yourself, what is actually your mission? So I've put in a bit of an example here for myself, is that at Buccaneer Grooming, we developed the term recklessly adventurous, which describes a man with a beard who cares about his style and his grooming habits and challenges the norms. So one thing that I notice is that beardsmen are typically thought of as hippies, bikies, or homeless folk. And our mission is to really try to change people's perception of beards. And we know that if we give men who want to grow a beard the tools to care for and look after their beards, we can change people's perception. So it's about asking yourself, what is your brand's mission? The next thing is all about asking, what is the problem that your products solve? So for us, the products cure beard itch, beard drift, split ends. They keep beards soft, luscious, smelling good. And obviously there's a bonus there for any lady friend as well. The next thing is all about asking yourself, what do your customers think? So looking at getting reviews on your site, looking at actually running surveys, what do people think of your brand? And one thing that we're really fortunate is that because we've invested so heavily in building a brand, our customers really love what we stand for, and we really attract a certain type of customer. Our main product has a rating of 4.8 out of 5, and customers really regularly repeat purchase, which is fantastic. And it's also asking yourself about what potential customers think. So this is where you can do exit intent surveys on your website and start getting a feel for what's preventing people from purchasing, and getting that feedback around what they actually think of the brand. And a lot of people say that they see Buccaneer Grooming as a premium provider of beard grooming products designed for the dapper gentleman with really high quality ingredients. And that's great because that's exactly what we set out to try to do. The last thing is think about the standards that you want to set for your business. So for Buccaneer Grooming, we really want our customers to associate quality with our brand. We have to live and breathe beards, and we want that to follow through in every touch point that a customer has with us. So we really focus heavily on the quality of our product, the packaging, the imagery that we have across our website and our social content, as well as the customer service interactions that we have. We really continue over the tone of voice that we show through social and our website into all of those customer service interactions. I do have a few little bonus tips around this, is that you have to obviously invest in getting a really good logo and brand designed up by someone that actually has branding experience. Going to Fiverr and getting a $5 logo designed up, might do the job, but a lot of the time it won't. So really invest in that side of your business. Make sure you integrate your brand across all your social channels and be really consistent with your tone and style across all platforms. But that's how to start. You've got to actually think about the business from a bigger perspective. But let's actually dig into some of the steps now around how you can build a brand with some good examples. So the first step is all about uncovering what your unique selling proposition is. So this is a fundamental step in any good brand strategy. And the goal is to differentiate yourself from your competitors to give your customers a key reason to purchase from you. So it should really highlight a story or a philosophy that you're all about. Remember, a brand is a reflection of you as a business owner. So let's take a quick look at Mars Brothers. These guys are a really cool business. They make handmade chocolate in New York City, and their shop is one of a few where bean bar chocolate is produced in-house. So their USP is all around how they make their chocolate, which is extremely unique today in a very mass-produced world. So as some examples, if you're using a handmade product, you might consider using a story like this to really uniquely position your brand. And there's been a huge comeback in trends around buying handmade and artisanal goods. And there's a range of benefits that come with this. So for example, these guys are helping by contributing to a whole new economic buying model. The creators enjoy making their wares by hand and they aren't mass produced. Often craftspeople are using recycled material, and handmade is often seen by customers as made with love, people who care about what they're making. So if you have a handmade product, then these are some unique selling propositions that you might consider to integrate with your brand and your marketing. So that's the first step, really identify what your unique selling proposition is. The second step, this is a really critically important part of a brand, is that you've got to sell the lifestyle that your product creates, not the product. Stop focusing on all the features of the actual product and start looking at how your product enables your target audience to live the life that they want to live. So this is quite a sophisticated form of marketing. And again, like I mentioned before, remember that a brand is a reflection of you as a business owner. So you have to live and breathe and you have to push this sort of content out. And here's an example of Buccaneer Grooming. You can see a lot of the imagery we use is of a dapper gentleman who's very stylish. It matches with our upmarket product. You'll see some of the product images to the right there match in with high quality products. And it's a general look and feel, as well as with the copy that we use in a lot of the posts that gets a lot of cut through. The third step is starting to distinguish your brand based on quality. So using your brand's quality as a marketing tool is a really effective way to build brand loyalty. So nowadays, if the product you're selling is not built or designed with quality in mind, you're not going to see a lot of returning customers. And again, I've mentioned it a couple of times now, with the Amazons and the eBays of the world competing on price and whatnot, it's really, really difficult for you to attract clients. It's only going to become harder. So the cost of acquiring a new customer is going to be really high. So you have to rely on having a good quality product and a great brand experience to get people coming back and purchasing your product more and more frequently. And that's how you end up developing a higher customer lifetime value. What's worse is that if your product isn't high quality, you're going to start getting customers going across social channels and expressing that dissatisfaction in your brand. So Casper here are a really good example of a company that's done this. They're a Canadian-based company. They really make the product quality and the features stand out on a lot of their product pages. They back the quality with a 100-day money-back guarantee. And what's really interesting is that a study recently showed that brands that offer a cashback or a money-back guarantee saw a 21% increase in sales. And of that increase, they only saw 12% of customers actually ask for their money back. So it can actually be quite a good way of improving sales. Now, there are a few things. If you feel like you've got a really good high quality product, there's some things that you can start asking yourself to position your brand. And it's these sort of questions around: where was your product made? Does it meet any specific regulations? What material and ingredients is it made out of? Where's the material source? Is it organic if it's a food product? These sort of things can start helping you address the brand and basically put in some marketing messages that distinguish you based on quality. So one common mistake that people do make when they think of quality when it comes to their brand is that you can't confuse quality with luxury. So just because something has a high price point, it doesn't necessarily mean that it represents quality. And this sort of goes without saying, but I'll mention it anyway. You can only brand your product from a quality angle if your product is actually high quality. So otherwise you're going to set false expectations and you won't get those repeat customers. So the next step is all about changing the branding rules. This is a really cool example. I'm sure a lot of you have played Cards Against Humanity before. But if you have quite a quirky or a unique product, you can position your marketing efforts around that. So absolutely, without a doubt, the party game for horrible people, Cards Against Humanity, has really done this. So they're really notorious for having fun with their customers. And even in Black Friday last year in the US, they actually sent 30,000 of their customers cow poop. So 30,000 customers were loyal enough to actually pay $6 to get cow poop delivered. So these are examples of brands really changing the branding rules and going against the grain. Another really cool thing that these guys did is in Black Friday the year before, instead of reducing the price, they actually increased the price by $5. So again, it's a really interesting example where they've got a quirky and unique product and they're really going against the grain and changing things up. And it's working. Here you'll see when you look at the search demand for Cards Against Humanity over time, when it started in 2012, you can really see it climb. So their branding activity is certainly working in driving that brand-based search demand online, which typically converts really well. The fifth step is all about personalizing the customer experience. And this is a key one because your brand experience doesn't stop after someone makes a purchase. The unboxing experience is also really, really important. And you need to carry this over into the physical world. So a really good example is Loot Crate here, who they're a subscription box for gamers. And you can see here that they've had a bit of fun with their unboxing experience. They use really nice custom packaging, but they also include an activity within the package there, which hopefully you can see, which allows them to promote their brand. So again, remember that you've got to go beyond just the purchase online. You've got to really work on the unboxing experience. And that's something at Buccaneer Grooming that I've had to learn the hard way a little bit, where a few customers expressed how much they loved the product, but how disappointed they were in that it wasn't put in a nice box. So I've sourced some really great boxes. We now put shredded paper in there with the product. We put some gold chocolate coins so it looks like treasure, with some really good packing slips that work really nicely and carry over that whole experience. So guys, I've got that's it on the brand front. Hopefully you got some really cool tips out of that. What I'm going to do is I've got at the end of each key section some links off to some other tools and links. What I'll do is I'll upload an offer towards the end of the presentation, which will basically give you a link out to find these slides, as well as all of these links that you can check out. So there's some really useful links here. So make sure you check them out if something interests you.
And just before we get on to the next segment, please send through any of the questions via the chat panel in the right-hand side, and Rhys will be able to answer those at the end. So yeah, start asking any of the questions in the chat facility. So back over to you, Rhys.
Thanks, Lou. Okay, all right, let's get on to the next part of the presentation. So digital marketing. So like I mentioned before, there's 1,000,001 different things that you can do. But how I like to try to simplify this for e-commerce clients is looking at these 4 key areas. So you've got pushing traffic to your website, increasing your conversion rate, increasing your average order value, and driving repeat purchases, which is that customer lifetime value. Now, in terms of where you focus across this, it does depend on the stage of your business. So when you're starting up, you're obviously going to focus more on driving traffic. And when you're more established, you're going to focus more on driving those repeat purchases. Today, I'm going to more so focus on these 2 areas because there's just so much to cover here, and we unfortunately don't have all day. So I'm going to focus on some of these things, mainly around driving online traffic. So the first thing for me to really point out is that if you're a new website, your traffic sources might look like this. So there's typically 6 key sources that drive a lot of traffic to e-commerce sites. And you can see there's direct traffic, there's organic, there's paid, there's social, there's email, and there's affiliate. Now, when you're launching a brand new site, obviously no one really knows your brand. So there's not going to be a lot of direct traffic. Google doesn't know who you are, and you haven't built up trust with Google. So you're not going to get a lot of organic traffic. You're not going to have social followers at this stage, so you're probably not going to have a lot of social traffic. You're not going to have an email database. You're not going to have affiliates. So your traffic is going to be pretty heavily skewed towards paid advertising. And I'll discuss a few paid advertising strategies today. But paid advertising such as Facebook ads, Google AdWords, Google Shopping, Instagram ads, etc., can be really great ways of driving some quick traffic to your website. Now, if you're more of an established e-commerce business, your traffic might look a little bit more like this. So what you can see here is that a big chunk of the traffic is coming from organic, as well as direct, as well as pay, with social, email, and affiliate contributing a lot more traffic as well. The reason for this is that obviously to build up those traffic sources, it takes time. So I just wanted to really specify that you know, when you're starting out, you have to invest a lot more in paid advertising to see what works and what doesn't. And then as you become more and more established and you're working on the other channels, you'll start to see your traffic pie look a little bit more like that. So before we get into some specific tactics, there are a few basics that you need to get right before you actually look to start driving traffic. So you've got to really consider who is your actual audience, who you're going after, what channels do they use, what unique selling proposition or message that you want to use or convey. Is that message consistent with your website? So you don't just want that message in the ad or the ad copy, you actually need to have it on your website so that the experience is consistent. You've got to make it super easy for someone to take your desired action on your website, and then you need to be able to track everything to determine if it was a success. So there's some key areas to start with. And then when it comes to actually driving traffic, here are all of the different ways that we can look to do it. So I'm going to touch on these areas today. Again, it's not a definitive list. There's so many channels and different ways of going about it that you can do. So the first thing I thought I'd try is Instagram. Now, obviously you've got Instagram ads, but I really wanted to touch on here actually sending free samples to Instagram influencers, because this can be such a great way to get some exposure early on and get feedback around your product. So Instagram's become one of the most effective marketing channels for e-commerce merchants. And in a recent study, it actually found that Instagram gives brands 25% more engagement than any other social channel. And our own analysis has also found that Instagram traffic generally, or Instagram sales that come from Instagram, typically have a higher average order value than other social channels. So I wanted to give you a bit of an example here as to how you could reach out to some Instagram influencers. And you'll see here, Webster's a really great tool, and you can see that we're searching for hairstylists. So if you sell hair products online, this can be a really great way to find some influencers. So Webster shows you popular hashtags and users, and yeah, you can basically search for a particular keyword and find some key people. So the next stage is that once you've used a tool like that, is actually filtering through those people that appear. And you can see here there's Steph, and she's got 150,000 followers and a link to her blog in her bio. So we're then going to find her, go through to the blog and essentially find her contact details. And then we're going to reach out to her. So this is an example that I use for Buccaneer Grooming, but it's a template that you guys might look to use when reaching out to these sort of people. So you can see that I'm positioning it as, you know, how we're really proud of our product, a few of the unique selling propositions, asking if they would mind if I sent them a sample, and if they like it, perhaps they'll share it with their audience. So this is a great way to start getting some more instant traffic, and it helps to really build that brand amongst key people. So that's the first key thing. The second thing, which works quite well for a lot of e-commerce brands, is social advertising. So this is looking at your Facebook ads and your Instagram ads as two key channels. And the thing that makes these channels really good is how much you can break down your audience. Now, it does take a little bit of time to actually figure out who are the right people that you should be going after and which sort of messages work. But these are some of the things that you can segment those ads on to really nail in on the right type of person. And obviously, these are what the ads look like. So you've got Instagram ads on the left there where you can push people to shop now on a particular product. This works great if your products are extremely visual. And then you can then see what's called a carousel ad for eBay. And this particular ad is actually a remarketing ad where eBay are dynamically retargeting the user based on the products that they viewed when on the website, which can be a really effective way of advertising. So social ads are certainly something to consider. And don't worry, guys, I've got a whole bunch of links for you to help you get started in a moment on these tactics. The third thing is around bloggers and press. So this is a really good way of getting exposure for your product. So the sizes that certain bloggers and press outlets have obviously varies quite a bit. And the process of reaching out to these people is really similar to Instagram and what I just went through before. So often starting with Google and YouTube can be really good channels to start with. You can see there that I've searched for beard blog on Google, and then I've also looked at how to oil your beard on YouTube. So these are the types of things that you can start searching for and seeing, you know, who has great content that's appearing there, and using a similar email template that I showed you before to start reaching out to the right people. The other really cool little bonus tip, I suppose, is if you haven't come across Source Bottle before, that source is in SOURCE. Source Bottle is a really cool tool where you can sign up and tell them what you're interested in. And people, journalists, when they're looking for people to comment on certain topics, you will automatically get notified. So if someone, for example, I've signed up to grooming. So if a journalist out there is creating some piece of content around grooming, I'll get a notification for comment, and I'll try to comment. And that helps me be seen as an authoritative voice, I suppose, within the grooming industry. The next one is Reddit. So Reddit's huge. The whole internet really hangs out on Reddit. So when you go onto Reddit, the home page obviously has it aggregates the most popular content on the internet, but then Reddit also has thousands of niches which are called subreddits. And you can literally find a subreddit on pretty much any topic. So one topic that I really love is this entrepreneur subreddit. It's got over 79,000 subscribers, and anyone in business should check it out. And the small business subreddit's another really good one as well. But if we stick with the hair product example that I was speaking about before, I can actually see on subreddit that there's on Reddit that there is a subreddit around female hair advice. So we might find a bunch of these subreddits that seem relevant. And what we can start doing is actually posting on these subreddits. So the trick here is that we've got to offer value. So we want to make our posts quite brief, and we really don't want these posts to be salesy. There is a really good Reddit guide, which explains, obviously the etiquette when it comes to posting. And each subreddit has certain rules as well. So it's important when you find subreddits that you actually look into the right-hand side of the subreddit, which will have some of the rules. So definitely check out Reddit. I think it's quite a good channel to look to drive traffic. One other really cool thing is obviously writing blog posts. So this is a no-brainer. Creating content is really important across all e-commerce businesses. But one way that can help you get a little bit more exposure around influencers and people that are seen as go-to people within your particular niche or vertical is actually write a blog post that features them. So here's some ideas. The 10 most important beard bloggers you should be following, the 15 Twitter accounts you should be following to discover new beard trends. These are some examples where you can actually feature the influencers. And then once you've got this blog post live, you can then actually reach out to those influencers with that blog post, and hopefully they will then share it to their audiences. People love the sound of their own name. So this sort of plays on their ego a little bit, but can be a great way to get more shares. This is a really big one. In the e-commerce space, it's all about transitioning away from just selling on your e-commerce, on your website. So a lot of the content management systems today they really make it quite easy to sell on a range of different channels. So eBay, Australians are actually amongst the highest eBay shoppers in the world. So eBay can be a great way to push your products into another channel. Same with Amazon, etc. You'll see there on the right a Facebook shop. Again, a lot of e-commerce systems like Shopify make it quite easy to sell on different channels like Facebook and Pinterest, etc. So start thinking about how you can get your products in more places, because your customer, they just care about buying easily. They don't care what channel they buy from you but try to get onto more channels. Now, when you do this with an e-commerce system, the good thing is that you don't have to manage a whole bunch of channels with a lot of the apps and CMS systems that exist. They literally get fulfilled through your current e-commerce content management system. One of the other great ways of driving traffic, and this is something that I used really early on in Buccaneer Grooming's existence to help build my email database and get a bit of awareness in the market, was to run a competition. So this is Beard Brand, who are one of the biggest beard companies in the world. And you can see here that they've used a tool called Gleam, which we use all the time here at Reload. And you'll see a competition on the left where they're giving away their beard oil collection, where there's one winner every day for 7 days. And you'll see there's 10 ways that people can enter this competition. So it's a great way of getting people to go to your website and check you out, growing your email database, growing your social communities, getting people to view certain videos and sharing the competition across their social channels. So you can see they've got 19,500 entries, which is obviously great for their communities and getting their brand out there. Look, this is a bit of an obvious one, and something that we do all the time here at Reload is search engine optimization. So the majority of e-commerce content management systems do really allow you to quite easily edit your title tags and meta descriptions and URLs, your alt tags for your images. A lot of them automatically generate sitemaps and robots.txt files so that Google can crawl your website. And generally, they automatically generate your canonical URL tags to stop duplicate content. So a lot of the content management systems that you guys are working on generally will allow you to do this. So in terms of optimizing your website, once you've got this functionality, it really starts with using a keyword research tool to begin with. So something like the Google AdWords keyword tool is a great starting point for you to use to identify what sort of keywords you want to target. And it's obviously important to consider You don't really want to target everything that's really competitive and has a lot of search volume, because it's going to be more difficult for you to rank. So it's really about finding the relevant keywords for you. Once you've done that, start adjusting the title tags on your home page for your main keywords. Obviously, your category pages, you use those category keywords. So that could be something like beard oil or beard scissors. And then looking at your product pages, so more specific product keywords. Obviously, adjust your meta descriptions to match your brand and convey your unique selling propositions. This is a really big area for click-through. It helps your click-through rate. And include your main keywords for each page in the page headers. And obviously content. You've got to make sure you've got relevant and useful content across your homepage, your category pages, your product pages, and your blog. That is how you're going to show Google that you are an authority within your vertical. The next one, which is really, really popular with e-commerce businesses that we see some really good results with, is obviously Google AdWords and Google Shopping. Google Shopping particularly. So on the left in the blue square, you'll see Google AdWords, and on the right in the red square, you'll see Google Shopping. There are a few key things to remember with Google Shopping. Is that the way that this works is that you actually need what's called a product feed, which links through to your merchant center. And I do have a piece of content, a link coming up for you to get a bit of a guide on how to get all of that going. But these are obviously great ways to get some fast visibility and traffic through to your e-commerce website. So there's some examples of ways that you can build traffic to your website. The next thing that I'm going to focus on is improving your conversion rate, because you can drive traffic until the cows come home, but if you have a low conversion rate, you're not going to make the most of that. So I know that we're running out of time here, guys, so I'll try to push through these last parts here. But the average e-commerce website converts between 2 and 3%. Now, if you're an omni-channel retailer where you also have bricks and mortar stores, sometimes your e-commerce conversion rate will be less. So it's important to consider that, and you should be measuring secondary metrics like purchase intents or going into an actual store. So how can you improve your conversion rate? The first thing is you've got to find out what your current conversion rate is. You've got to find out where people are dropping out and how does your product and pricing compare to competitors. So these are some ways that you can start improving your conversion rate. Now, I'm not actually going to go through each one of these individually because I know we're running out of time. But shipping, the checkout process, how you track that, doing some A/B split testing, making sure your product descriptions are really good. You know, you've got abandoned cart emails going, you've got reviews on a site. These are some examples of how you can really improve that conversion rate. As I said before, here's a whole bunch of tools and links that we'll share with you guys shortly. The next thing is all around data, so how you actually track performance. So similar to those 4 key metrics that I looked at before, you can use Google Analytics to track how much traffic you're getting and where it's coming from. You can track your e-commerce conversion rate. You can track your average order value and also how often people are coming back to purchase from you. Again, I've got a great link to an article on giving you a bit of an overview on this, so I won't go through it in any more detail today. And you can obviously compare to certain timeframes as well. So comparing, say, this time, the last 30 days in comparison to the same time last year can be great ways of seeing how your digital marketing is impacting performance. And again, some tools and links, which I might get Lou to share with you now, actually. So there's a bit of an offer here that'll pop up with a link that will take you through to an article that's got these slides and all of these links that I've shared with you today around the building a brand, the marketing side, and also the tracking. So Lou's just going to share that with you now, which you'll see pop up in a second.
All right, we're just going to display this one for everybody. Here we go here. So just in your right-hand side there, move across to offers, and you'll see that there. Click on that link. Any problems, let us know. So, Rhys, we might dive into some questions. How are we going for time? I think we've got 1 or 2 minutes, haven't we? So let's, we'll just bring up the question slide. I'll just go back to here, and I think we'll just skip through. So check out Bellroy when you get a chance, guys. It's a really cool brand that's doing all of the things that we discussed today. And Opus Grows is another really cool one where they've turned soil into a really great lifestyle product.
BuiltWith's another great tool, but again, we'll share this with you. So yeah, let's get into the questions.
We've got a couple of minutes, guys, so we'll dive in. We've got Mr. Holstein. Hi, Paul. How you doing? And also Jonathan have asked some questions. So we'll start with Paul. Question for Rhys. What's the one piece of advice that you would have wished someone said to you or told you when you started doing online advertising for Buccaneer? Thanks for the question, Paul.
Yeah, really great question, Paul. Hope everything's going well, mate. Yeah, look, I suppose for me, I wish I invested a little bit more time in getting certain tools installed on the website. So I went straight into advertising, and like I mentioned before, when you're a new business, you invest so heavily in paid advertising. Paid advertising is expensive because you're paying each time someone clicks, and you're trying to figure out who the right audience is and what message works best. So when you've got a low conversion rate that hovers between that 2 to 3%, you get a lot of wastage. So you're wasting 97 to 98% of those clicks that you're paying for. So I really wish that I installed a range of welcome pop-ups, exit intent pop-ups as well, and dynamic retargeting to capture those people that weren't converting and at least try to get their email address. So they're things that I wish I implemented earlier because I've found them to work really well. And I know that I wasted a bit of money on some tactics when I could have gotten a little bit more out of them. So hopefully that answers your question, Paul.
Great. And Jonathan's got one here. What would you consider to be a good e-commerce conversion rate? And what would you consider to be a low or a bad e-commerce conversion rate? That's a good question from Jonathan.
Yeah, great question again, Jonathan. So yeah, look, the average e-commerce conversion rate is between 2 to 3%. However, like I said, when you are an omni-channel retailer, your conversion rate is typically lower. And that is where the secondary metrics are really important. So actually measuring what I call purchase intent, which is when people are doing postcode searches or click to get directions or click to call to actually go into a store. So they're very important metrics to consider. So normally we will see a conversion rate anywhere from sort of 1 to 2% for most omni-channel retailers. And it depends on the strategic business priorities as well. A lot of the time when I am working with omni-channel retailers, I work quite closely with the marketing team to really help them educate the board that we've got to look at a range of metrics here, because it's not just about purchasing online, it's also about trying to get people in store. So I hope that answers your question, Jonathan.
Great stuff. And if there's any other questions, if anybody wants to quickly type them in, we've left the offer up there on the right-hand side for the free webinar resources. That gets everybody who joined the webinar today all of those great resources. And I'll just see if there's any other final questions. It doesn't look like it. So look, thank you very much, Rhys. And I'll put one more offer up just before we go. There's also this one here, which is the 2016 Digital Marketing Toolkit. Some of you would have seen this, but this is a great resource for 50 of the top digital marketing tools that we've compiled, and it's been built by the whole team at Reload with Paul and Courtney and everybody at Reload contributing. And so, yeah, download this one as well, because it gives you some great insight to the tools that we use here at Reload and what we recommend. So, Rhys, would you explain anything else about this particular offer?
Oh, look, it's a really, really good toolkit. I strongly recommend checking it out. It's literally all the tools that we use here at Reload. A lot of them I also use in the e-commerce space across my own website and a lot of the clients that we work with. So, yeah, it's a great way of just introducing you to a few things that can make your life a little bit easier.
That's great. And thanks for the final comments. Cameron, you can get in touch with Rhys and myself at www.reloadmedia.com.au or Rhys directly.
So Cameron, Phil, and anyone that's got any questions, feel free to reach out to myself directly. So you can get me on Rhys, which is RHYS, at reloadmedia.com.au. More than happy to help out and share any further insights or answer any questions that you've got.
I'll just pop that up in the chat. I'm just typing in now. You, Cameron, and thanks a lot. So
yeah, thanks, guys. I hope you learned something new. I know that there's obviously a lot that we went through today, and we didn't quite get to cover everything. There's so many different things that you can do. And for most e-commerce businesses, it's really trying to start with the basics and really figure out where are you getting traffic from, what's the conversion rate, and slowly move up to looking at improving your average order value and your lifetime value. So that's typically the process that we work on. But yeah, I really hope you learned something new. Feel free to reach out, and thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers, guys.